It finally happened. We finally got some more archer commanders in Rise of Kingdoms. We have two commanders for you. We got Qin Shi Huang and we got another legendary commander, which is Shapur. Shapur is going to be the rally commander that we can expect, and then Qin is going to be our field commander. Are you as excited as I am? Let's get into it. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another Rise of Kingdoms gameplay episode from your very own Shappy Gaming. If you're new to the channel, my name's Shappy. I'm a sponsored Rise of Kingdoms content creator, and today we are talking about the only thing that you would even want to talk about today, and that is the new archer commanders, archers, mains. I'm so sorry. It has been so long. You have been so neglected. The last series of archers were not it. And maybe these archers will bring you back into the meta. That'd be pretty cool. And I already have some suspicions. Spoiler alert. I do think archers are about to be back in the rally meta. And we'll be talking about that with the rally archer commander. But we're going to start with Qin, because Qin is like the most interesting commander that has been added to Rise of Kingdoms in a very, very long time. I looked through his skills. I've been trying to think of who you might want to pair him with. I've got a really good idea. So let's talk about it. So this guy is an emperor. He's like one of the most well-known Chinese emperors in history. And he's got some pretty awesome skills. Now, what I want to say before we actually get into what his skills are, this commander is not like any other commander in the game. He's not relying on major skill damage output. He's not relying on poison. He's not relying on smite. He's got some really interesting mechanics that all go off of rage. And you may be like, what the heck is rage? Well, rage is what you actually need to accumulate to pop off a skill. In theory, not with this guy. So let's talk about it. His first skill makes a whole lot of not sense when you read it as a standalone. You're going to need to max this commander, most likely. His first skill is 1 Conquer 6. Rage consumed is 1,000, though it's kind of irrelevant. This commander's troop gains the Eternal Emperor effect for 10 seconds. Whenever their troop deals direct damage with a basic attack via the Iron Pierces Bronze skill, it also deals 60% of the damage to up to 5 other nearby enemy troops. It doesn't say in a fan. It doesn't say in a circle. It just says to them, which is interesting to me because it could be a full circle. I don't know. I'm thinking that it's pretty neat. It is basic attack, which means it's going to be normal attack damage, so you're going to get a buff from that. It's not true damage, though, which we all thought, oh yeah, they're going to go for that. They did not. So already this is interesting. But what this should tell you is this is not a skill damage commander, which is a big problem when we look at archers. So we'll get into it. The next one is Iron Pierces Bronze, right? This is what that first skill actually kicks off of. Whenever this commander's troop launches a basic attack, it spends 100 rage, won't trigger without rage, to convert the damage into direct damage. The direct damage is equal to 100% of their troops' basic attack damage factor. Now, direct damage does play off of normal damage, as we've seen before. But this is actually a really interesting mechanic because if you're using just basic and direct damage, it's really going to allow you to almost instant proc, which I think is handy, right? As soon as you hit 100 rage, you can be triggering this, which for archers is amazing. If you remember some of my previous videos, I complained archers have too long of a rage cycle. And Lilith said, okay, we hear you, Shappy. We're just going to get rid of the rage cycle because why not? But what this means is you really don't want to pair him with a commander that's going to need that rage, which again brings us to kind of a fairly large problem. But that's okay. Direct damage is equal to 100% of their troops' basic attack damage factor. This commander's archer units also gain 20% march speed, 30% defense, and 20% health. This is like the perfect spread. I wouldn't have it any other way for archers. They need defense, they need health. No attack is spectacular. I've already got all the equipment that's going to make this commander viable. 20% march speed, you're not going to be catching cavalry, but that's okay. I think that's pretty good. And I already have a nice little pairing in mind for him. So the first two skills mean you're probably going to be doing sufficient damage just by being on the field, right? You're going to get some instant proc damage pretty much when you get 100 rage. Now, this guy is very different from a lot of other commanders. The skill cycle really doesn't matter, right? The commander's troop gains the Eternal Emperor effect. What does that mean? Well, we'll get there, don't worry. But it's odd, it's unusual. We haven't seen this a lot. So I'm actually really excited to see how this comes into play a little bit. But I'm thinking he's exactly what we're looking for, a tanky archer that doesn't need a full skill cycle. So let's look at the next one, right? Thunder shakes earth. If this commander's troop is in the field and has been outside of your city for at least 10 seconds, this was on purpose because they know that Qin is going to be especially useful for cheeseburgering because, again, you don't need a full skill cycle. So what they said is, oh, you have to have him outside your city for 10 seconds because they know if you don't, you're going to end up cheeseburgering with him. I still think you will. It gains the Eternal Emperor effect for 8 seconds whenever it enters combat. It can trigger once every 60 seconds, and whenever their troop deals direct damage with Iron Pierces Bronze, or the Eternal Emperor effect, it spends 20 rage. So again, you're consuming more rage to deal extra damage to all targets, and you got that vampire effect like we have with Ragnar. You drain 10 rage from your enemy with a damage factor of 200. And it says waning here, right? Waning is after triggering 2 times in a single second, every subsequent trigger deals 25% less damage than the last, which makes sense, right? We don't want to be just dealing insane amounts of damage. I think this is really just to balance the commander. But the draining is actually really handy because you don't want to be taking skill damage either, especially as an archer commander. So this is intriguing. Overall, he's a strange commander, to be honest. And then we have this one. This one is a long skill. Valor beats Despair. If this commander's troop is attacking a field troop, so this is a field commander, which means we're not using them in a rally. If they are the primary commander, their troop gains 500 rage upon entering combat. This is a big deal. And it's a big deal because you know that this skill, Iron Pierces Bronze, needs that rage. So what this means is essentially your first 5 attacks, you're going to be dealing this additional direct damage factor, which is a big deal, especially when we do talk about these quick battles. This is also going to be handy in a murder ball because in a murder ball, if you lose your skill cycle with archers, typically you find yourself in a really bad spot. Whereas now with Qin, you're going to be in a really good spot because even if you lose that skill cycle, you're going to get that buff. So this is awesome. Their troop also takes 10% less normal damage, which means infantry are not going to be as useful. Whenever their troop takes direct damage, smite damage, or combo attack damage with 300 plus damage factor pretty much any time, it spends 40 rage to reduce the damage by 40%. In other words, you are now making your archers more tanky than ever. And this can trigger a total of 6 times per second, which is a lot. And each enemy troop can trigger the effect once per second. So you can't have it trigger multiple times if you end up with multiple smite damage attacks stacking, which you could with the smite talent tree. This is crazy. This right here makes archers tanky, which is not a thing. So this is a really good skill. So already I'm thinking you're going to need to max this guy. Now let's look at the expertise. Seal governs all. If this commander's troop is in the field and has been outside of your city for at least 10 seconds, it gains the Eternal Emperor effect for 10 seconds whenever it enters combat. This can trigger once every 60 seconds. Whenever their troop deals direct damage with Iron Pierces Bronze or the Eternal Emperor effect, it spends 25 rage, won't trigger without rage, to deal direct damage to all targets and drain rage from them. So now this is enhanced Thunder Shakes Earth, which again is already a really good skill. So I'm pumped about Qin, and I do think you are going to want to max him, but there's a big problem, right? We need to talk about who you can pair him with because it's a big problem. So let's open up the game real quick, right? Here we are. We have Rise of Kingdoms right there. Who do you pair him with? Well, start with who you can't pair him with because that's going to be the more important part. You're not pairing him with Zug. I don't think you're pairing him with Zug for a couple reasons. One, Zug really needs skill cycles. And the problem with Qin is he is literally making it so you're having way fewer skill cycles because he's consuming rage throughout combat, which we haven't seen before, which I really like. So you're not pairing him with Zug. You do get health, right? You get more damage. That's great. And you have a control effect, debuff here. I don't think Zug is the right pairing for him. If it were me, I would keep Zug with Herman. And now I'm thinking, who can I pair him with? Okay, well, we have Boudica here, right? Everyone max Boudica. You could deal direct damage to a single target. But again, it's skill damage, right? So we need to figure out, what are we actually looking for here? It deals direct damage, which is fine. And the target takes 35% more skill damage. We're not using that. You got some attack and some march speed, but again, that's not really what we need. Less than 80% units, you get defense. That's fine. This skill is the only thing that makes me, think, okay, maybe we have a chance here, right? Because again, you want to play off that tankiness. I don't think Boudica's it. I just don't see it. Maybe the healing is nice. To be honest, what I actually might consider is Shajar. Shajar is probably the only archer-specific commander that I could see you pairing with, because as a secondary, she's going to heal, and then she's going to deal true damage to the target. That true damage is going to be handy. So I kind of like this, but again, the problem is we need rage to trigger that effect. So that's kind of an issue. She does have health, and she has a march speed bonus, so that's going to be nice. If this commander is a field troop, the troop takes less damage, and whenever you use an active skill, it heals your allies, so that's not bad, right? And you take 10% less damage. And whenever you're reduced to 60% units remaining, you do get that healing buff, which you like. So Shajar is a maybe, right? I don't think you're going to be using Ashurbanipal. I have other thoughts for him anyways. But the biggest commander that I'm seeing you pair Qin with is Philip. Like, hands down, I think Philip is your guy. Because he doesn't need that skill to pop, right? This first active skill is great, but it's not that critical. What I like with Philip, though, is with archers, you get 35% health, and you get that same 20% march speed bonus. And you want to find a place for Philip in your setup. So I like Philip. The other reason why I like Philip is this third skill. Not only is he giving you a march speed bonus if you have 2 different unit types, which you're not going to, but he gives you a 30% damage bonus, which will help with every single one of Qin's damages just by running him with archers. So you got health for archers, you got a damage bonus, and then if he does pop his rage requirement skill, you're going to have a nice little buff that's going to help all of your other marches. And whenever this troop launches a basic attack against a troop on a map, it has a 10% chance to deal direct damage to up to 3 enemy troops, which we like. And he reduces their rage by 50%. So you double down on that debuff that Qin is already giving with that drain effect. So my pick for the best pair for Qin is actually going to be Philip. I think that Philip is the way to go 100%. His expertise says when their commander uses an active skill, they can use it a second time. For Qin, again, I really like that, because if he's using his active skill a second time, what that actually means is he's going to be even tankier, because again, when this commander gains the Eternal Emperor effect, their troop will deal direct damage with a basic attack, and it deals 60% of the damage to up to 5 other nearby targets. So it gives you a greater AoE output, again, with less rage issues. And the cool thing about this is Philip's skill can only trigger once every seconds. What this means is you don't have to worry about this, because every time that Qin's active skill triggers, you're going to be triggering twice, because your rage cycle is going to be so slow that this is a great pairing. So I'm pumped. This is my pick. If you guys think that he should be paired with anyone else, let me know in the comment section below. I think that you're going to want to run him with Philip. That's going to be a great pair. It's going to give Philip in your march, and it's going to let you be able to run Luce Alex or Baichi Luce, and you no longer have to compromise on your infantry marches. So I love this. That said, does it disturb your 5-march setup? Probably not. I guess if I had to choose one archer march, I would probably choose this over Zhuge Herman, but I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Are you putting this in a 5-march setup or a 6-march setup? 6-march, it's a no-brainer. But that's that. So let's jump into the next commander, right? Qin got all the hype. He's a beast. I'm already excited about him. But Shapur is also pretty awesome. He's an archer, conquering, and skill damage commander, and he's more traditional, right? We got the might of, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. It's a single target damage. It deals additional damage to a target every second for 4 seconds, damage factor of 800. What this means is this commander is dealing 3,200 damage. In other words, he is dealing more skill damage than almost any other commander in the game. And he's got a nice little bonus. If the target has less than 500 rage, it also cannot receive shield effects for the next 2 seconds. It's not that big of a deal, but it's a nice little cherry on top. This commander's archer units gain 20% march speed and 20% health. And whenever their troop takes damage, it has a 25% chance to gain 30% attack for 3 seconds. And if they're leading a rally, you gain an extra 20% march speed. This, not my favorite skill, if I'm being honest. Not that big of a deal, but the health is a nice bonus. So overall, I think his stats bonus from this skill are pretty handy. I think it's going to be nice. To be honest, I would have loved to have seen defense bonus instead of attack because archers, again, already have a lot of attack, but that's okay. We'll find a pair for him. Next one. This is his expertise. So let's look at this instead. Blessed by the Atash. Whenever this commander's troop deals skill damage, so you want him with a skill damage commander, it has a 20% chance to inflict the following effect for 3 seconds. The target cannot receive temporary healing buffs or health buffs, and the target deals 20% less normal damage. This is a direct counter to Gorgo Toko. Direct counter, because normal damage includes smite damage. So this is going to essentially mean this is the new rally meta, and you need to be prepared for that. I'm pumped because I really want to kill my archers. So this is great, but that's what this means. Next one, Stout Walls of Shapur. If this commander is leading a rally attack, which it is, whenever their rallied army grants a buff, it has a 50% chance to gain 100 rage, which you want because you want to trigger that skill damage. And it gains a 30% bonus to skill damage dealt for 3 seconds, cooldown of 4 seconds. This is spectacular. Already, this guy has meta potential, and no one's going to talk about him because I know archers, whatever. He is probably going to be even more important to the changing of the game than Qin. I know Qin's the one everyone's excited about, but do not sleep on this guy. Shapur is going to be absolutely crazy. Now, his expertise, if this commander is leading a rally attack, whenever their rally army deals damage, it has a 15% chance to deal additional damage every second to 5 enemy troops near the target. In other words, you're not going to want to swarm it, but you still probably will right now. If they aren't leading a rally attack, whenever their troop deals additional damage, it has a 15% chance to deal additional damage every second for 2 seconds to 1 enemy troop near the target. So that expertise doesn't really do much for me. I don't think you're going to be using this guy in the field. You could, but I don't think that I would personally. But the bigger question is, who do we pair him with? We know he has meta potential for rallies. I think that's pretty straightforward. But who do we pair him with? We have a couple of options. So let's actually take a look, right? We know that he needs health. He needs health and he needs defense. And there are 2 rally commanders in the game right now that are archer commanders that seem to be remotely viable. And those are going to be Henry and Ash. So let's go look at them real quick. So we have Ashurbanipal down here. Let's start with him. He's going to deal damage to 5 enemy troops in a fan. That's going to be handy, and deals direct damage to the current target. It's just damage output, right? This is handy because, again, we probably want to run the new commander as the primary. So Ash should be the secondary in this instance, which is good because he then benefits from the bonus to skill damage dealt. He does gain attack, and while outside of Alliance territory, he gains defense and march speed. But we need health. This is fine. I want more health. This commander's troop deals 5% more skill damage, and whenever their troop uses an active skill while attacking a city or stronghold, the target deals 5% less normal damage. Ooh, we doubled down on the debuff that we're dealing to Tokugawa and Gorgo. This is nice. There's some synergy here. This commander's troop takes 3% less normal damage. Obviously, it goes up to 15. And if this commander is leading a rally attack, whenever their rallied army deals direct damage, it has a 50% chance to gain a 3% bonus to skill damage dealt, which is pretty good. Obviously, that's going to be, pretty important, and it can stack. So there's some synergy here, but let's take a look at this. Whenever this commander's troop uses an active skill, it gains one of the random buffs below. This is a little unpredictable for me. I know Ashurbanipal has been in the meta for rallying for archers for a long time, but I'm not necessarily convinced he's the one I want to use. I'm thinking Henry's the better pair. He deals direct damage to the target's troop. For the next 5 seconds, this commander's troop takes 20% less skill damage, which means if you're getting swarmed, you're going to be taking less skill damage, because realistically, who's going to be swarming you? Probably a bunch of cavalry. This commander's troop gains 20% attack, 20% defense, and some march speed. No different from Ash there. If this commander's troop is attacking a city or stronghold, their troop deals up to 30% counterattack damage. That's a big deal. And whenever their troop launches a basic attack, it has a 10% chance to increase the skill damage the target receives by up to 30% for 3 seconds. Now, the challenge here is, are you going to be running Henry primary? I don't know that it actually matters, because this is based on basic attacks. But if you can get this to line up with your additional damage factor that we're getting, maybe there's synergy there. And then this commander's archer units deal 10% more damage. Whenever their troop is hit with a basic attack, it has a 10% chance to deal direct damage of 800 to the attacker. I like that. And then if this commander has over 70% rage, it deals 30% more normal damage. Ooh, we don't have smite damage. Additional damage is fine. If not, their troop takes less than normal damage. I think Henry's the better pair. That's just my guess. Ash could work, but I am thinking that Henry is going to be the better pair for our new commander. I think that Shapur Henry is probably going to be what you want to run with Shapur primary. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Who are you running, and which of these commanders are you more excited about? It's close for me. It's close. I think Qin has some really, really interesting mechanics, so we'll see. If you've enjoyed, do hit that subscribe button right over there, bottom right-hand corner. Hit the bell so you get notified when new episodes come out. And more importantly, drop a like if this has been insightful for you. Thank you all. Shappy out.